Okay, good morning. So, I'm out here and I don't really know what it is that God want to put on my heart to talk about, but I will say this, that God will always allow us to cross people's paths. God will always allow certain people to come into our lives that we don't quite know why they in our lives at the time and the season that they are. But God knew it was destined. I think one thing I've learned in the paths that I was able to cross with people is that appreciate the paths, appreciate the connections, because whether it's a lesson for you or whether it's your blessing, it's all part of your growth. It's all part of God grooming you. It's all part of elevation. It's all part of God tearing down the old that's within us in order to build something totally new within us. It's like God is tearing down the old foundation within us to build a whole new foundation. So God will allow us to cross paths with people and things and places because God is showing us that it's lessons in this, but behind your lessons is growth. Behind your growth is blessings. And so a lot of times we don't know when our season is going to be up with a person. We don't know when the paths that we cross with that person is now over. And a lot of times the reason why we don't know is because the hardest thing for us as human beings is to have to let go of something that we feel is still supposed to be meant to be in our lives, you know? And what I'm learning every day is that when God is ready to move you forward to something else, God will allow you to make peace with the circumstance or a situation or a person right where you at. See, God is a God of love. God is a God of peace. God is a God of restoring. God is a God where, yes, he can tear down an old foundation and rebuild something totally new. But it depends on the person. It depends on how much are you willing to allow God to tear down the old in order to build something new. And this is why a lot of times in our friendships, in our romantic relationships, and even with family members or people, period, this is why sometimes the paths that we cross with people will end at a certain time in our lives, because God will give us opportunity to say, hey, I really, really, really want you to understand why I allowed you to cross people's paths. I want you to understand why I put this person in your life. I want you to understand what was the purpose of you connecting with this person, and what was it meant to become. You know, see, you got to understand this, that God will always give us something that we need in our lives. But how we choose to carry it, how we choose to treat it, how we choose to receive it is up to us. And if you notice in the Bible, just like when Jesus would, and I don't know the Bible that well, but just like when Jesus would go into these different places, right? And when Jesus would go into these different places and they wouldn't receive him, right? So Jesus had a certain time frame where he was going to continue to cross paths with these people, right? But God also knew that these people weren't going to receive Jesus fully. God already knew that these people are not going to fully be open-hearted to receive Jesus the way God needed them to receive him. God already knew that Jesus, I'm finna send you into these people's lives, or I'm finna send you into a certain person's life. But God already knew they're not going to fully receive you, and I already know this ahead of time, but I have to send you into their lives because I have to give them a chance to want to receive you. So God already knew firsthand when he sent Jesus into these situations that these people or these situations or the people that he crossed paths with weren't going to receive him. But God still had to give people the opportunity and the chance to receive Jesus, even if God already knew the outcome. So, and the reason why God had to still give Jesus the opportunity to cross paths with these people or come into people's lives is because it was going to be growth. There was going to be growth for Jesus while he was in this physical body. That was growth for him. And sometimes the way the growth look is through pain. So sometimes when God will send us into people's lives, or God will allow us to cross paths with people, you get what I'm saying? It's like God already knows firsthand that I'm finna send you into this person's life, and they're not gonna fully receive you. They're not gonna even get the depths of why I put you in their lives. They're not gonna even fully be able to love you the way I need them to love you. And God is saying, I already knew this before I sent you in their lives, but I got to give them a chance to want to receive you. I have to give them a chance to want something different. And whether they choose to not receive you or whether they choose to receive you wholeheartedly, God is saying that even in the midst of this is growth for you. I know it's painful, but this is growth. Because where there's pain, there's growth. See, without pain, you can't grow. And so a lot of times what happens is that we don't know and understand that when God allows us to come into a person's life or cross paths with people, it's hard for us to adjust and accept that, wow, I know I'm in this person's life for a reason, but they don't fully see the depths of why I'm there. Now, don't get me wrong, because at the end of the day, God said I give everybody free will. People have free will to choose what they want to choose in life. And that's a hard thing for us as humans to accept, that this person has free will to choose. But here's the thing, God is saying that if you just go through the process, if you just continue to go through what I need you to go through, and if you just continue to move forward in how I need you to move forward, if you just continue to stay in this person's life for the time that I need you in their life, when it's time for me to move you out of their life, I'll move you. And I'll move you on to the next person that's ready to receive you. But God is saying that it's a mission. It's a purpose of why I have you here. And so the purpose is for you to evolve. The purpose is for you to grow. The purpose is for you to learn what true forgiveness is. The purpose is for you to heal from pain and trauma. The purpose is for you to understand that whether you get received or not, the purpose is for you to understand the lessons that I need for you to learn and why I allowed you to cross paths with people, circumstances, and situations. But sometimes all we can see is the pain, but we can't see the lessons. All we can see is the pain, but we can't see the growth. All we can see is the pain, but we can't see when it's our season and our time that's going to come to an end. All we can see is holding on so tightly, but not knowing that when God say it's time for you to let go, it's time for you to let go. And that's where we are at in this lifetime. We don't understand the depths of everything, but God will show us in his timing why we had to go through what we had to go through. So it was a lot of times I always questioned God, and I would always, because God is crazy, but God will always allow me to cross paths with certain people. And he would always allow me to cross paths with people a lot of the times that was emotionally unavailable, okay? And I talked about this in my other video. And, you know, when you cross paths with people a lot of times that suppress their emotions and they are very emotionally unavailable, you know, when you continue to cross paths with people like this, you start to wonder, why am I continually? But I understand my purpose now. Because had I not crossed paths with people like this, then and had that Band-Aid been ripped off of that sore spot or that wound that was in me, then I wouldn't know what it meant to heal. I wouldn't know every day what it feels like to heal in that area where I'm learning that in spite of if my needs get met or not, that you have to love people and you have to love them from a genuine heart space and you have to love them no matter what. Because if I allowed you to cross these type of people, it's because I'm teaching you a lesson. I'm teaching you how to look past what you think you want and understand what genuine love is, understand what genuine forgiveness is, understand what it means to humble yourself, and understand that it was a lesson in this for you. So understand that we all destined to cross each other's paths for a reason. And whether we understand it now, whether we understand it years from now, we'll get it. We'll get it one way or another. Because God's timing is perfect. God's divine timing is perfect. And I can't even express this. I can't even count how many times I was in situations and then maybe years later, God showed me something and God showed me, he said, okay, I allowed you to be in that situation, but because you couldn't get the lesson, you couldn't understand what you needed to do in that situation. So because a lot of times we don't understand the lessons that we got to go through in that situation, we won't understand the strategy and why we're put in that situation. All we can see is the chaos and the pain. So understanding that we are all destined to cross paths, and whether it's for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 months or a year, we destined to cross paths. But the purpose of it is for us to learn the lessons that God needs for us to learn, to grow from the lessons that we need to grow from, and to understand that all of it is part of God's divine timing. That's why we are here in these human bodies, because God wants to be able, just like God told Jesus, I want you to go to all these different people. And he had to put him in a physical body. But Jesus had to go through all of that to understand that that was his lesson. That was Jesus' growth. That was Jesus learning how to love unconditionally and forgive without no boundaries and no limits. And that's love. That's genuine love. So I don't know what this video was called, but I just encourage everybody to understand that when we cross paths with people in our lives, really from experience, take time to understand why that person is in your life, because you don't want to look back years later and be like, wow, I get it now. You guys be blessed.